What kind of person preys on the most vulnerable in their own community? The story of the Babysitter Killer, also known as the Oakland County Child Killer, remains one of the most haunting mysteries in American true crime history. From 1976 to 1977, the quiet suburbs of Oakland County, Michigan, were gripped with fear as 4 children were abducted and brutally murdered. Their killer remained an enigma, leaving behind a trail of heartbreak and unanswered questions. In this video, we'll explore how the killer terrorized the community, the psychological profile of someone capable of such evil, and the forensic breakthroughs that brought investigators closer to the truth. Stick around as we uncover the disturbing details of a case that still casts a shadow over Michigan. The nightmare began on February 15th, 1976, when 12-year-old Mark Stebbins disappeared after leaving a local American Legion hall. Mark, described as a friendly and outgoing boy, was last seen walking home that day. His family quickly reported him missing, and a search ensued, but there was no sign of him for days. 4 days later, his lifeless body was discovered in a snowbank near an office building in Southfield, Michigan. What struck investigators was the chilling care the killer had taken. Mark's body was clean, his clothes washed and neatly pressed, and there were no immediate signs of a struggle. This meticulous attention to detail suggested the killer had a calculated and obsessive approach. Autopsy results revealed he had been suffocated and sexually assaulted, leaving detectives with a disturbing glimpse into the killer's mind. The sheer brutality of the crime stunned the local police, who were unprepared for the psychological complexity of such a predator. This pattern of abduction and murder would repeat itself with horrifying consistency over the next year. Jill Robinson, a bright and independent 12-year-old, disappeared on December 22nd, 1976, after an argument with her mother over chores. She packed a bag and left home, intending to visit her father, but never arrived. The next day, her body was found lying along the side of Interstate 75, just a few miles from her home. Jill had been killed with a single shotgun blast to the head. Once again, the killer had washed her body and redressed her in clean clothes. The brutal contrast between the killer's obsessive cleaning and the violent nature of the crimes baffled investigators. How could someone be so methodical, yet so monstrous? Just weeks later, 10-year-old Christine Mihelich went missing on January 2nd, 1977, after heading to the store to buy a magazine. Her disappearance sent shockwaves through the community, as she was known to be a cautious and responsible child. After 19 agonizing days, her body was discovered in a ditch, frozen in the harsh Michigan winter. As with the previous victims, her body showed evidence of suffocation, and she had been bathed and dressed in freshly laundered clothes. The meticulous care taken with the bodies suggested the killer was not only organized, but also deeply disturbed, finding satisfaction in maintaining control even after death. Are you finding this story as chilling as it sounds? If so, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps the channel out. The final known victim was Timothy King, an athletic and cheerful 11-year-old who disappeared on March 16th, 1977, after leaving a drugstore to buy candy. Timothy's case struck a nerve in the community as his family made public pleas for his safe return. Tragically, 6 days later, his body was found in a shallow ditch in Livonia. Like the others, Timothy had been bathed and redressed, but investigators noticed an unusual detail. His stomach contained the remains of his last meal, Kentucky Fried Chicken, indicating the killer had fed him before his death. This small but haunting detail added another layer of psychological complexity to the case. Why would the killer feed his victim before murdering him? Was it a twisted act of kindness or another way to assert control? The precision and care the killer took with each victim suggested a deeply disturbing psychological profile. Forensic psychologists believe the killer exhibited traits of both obsessive compulsive disorder and psychopathy. The act of cleaning the bodies and returning their clothing indicated an obsession with control and detail, while the brutal murders themselves showed a complete lack of empathy. This duality, a meticulous exterior masking a violent core, made the Babysitter Killer particularly terrifying. The killer's ability to blend into the community, likely living an unassuming life, raised unsettling questions about how predators can operate in plain sight. Despite the mounting fear, no clear suspect emerged in the early months of the investigation. Witnesses reported seeing a man in a blue AMC Gremlin near some of the abduction sites, leading police to investigate thousands of similar vehicles. Hair and fiber evidence collected from the bodies suggested the killer might have owned a dog, and paint particles hinted at a connection to the automotive industry. However, these clues were frustratingly vague and led to dead ends. Investigators collected and examined thousands of tips, but the lack of advanced forensic tools at the time meant they were often working in the dark. Public pressure mounted as the body count grew, with community members demanding answers and criticizing law enforcement for their inability to make progress. Decades later, advancements in forensic science would breathe new life into the case. In 2005, DNA evidence collected from the victims was retested, leading investigators to link the crimes to Christopher Busch, the son of a wealthy General Motors executive. Busch had been arrested for child molestation around the time of the murders, and his family's connections were rumored to have shielded him from scrutiny. Adding to the suspicion, police found disturbing drawings of children being tortured in Busch's home, along with a shotgun matching the caliber used in Jill Robinson's murder. However, Busch was never formally charged and was found dead in his home in 1978 in what appeared to be a suicide. The suspicious circumstances surrounding his death only fueled speculation that he was the Babysitter Killer. Some investigators believe that Busch's wealth and connections may have allowed him to evade justice, while others argue that the true killer remains at large. The Oakland County Child Killer case remains officially unsolved, leaving families and the community with lingering questions and unresolved pain. How did someone capable of such calculated evil evade justice for so long? Was Christopher Busch the true monster behind these heinous crimes? Or did the real killer escape detection entirely? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Please like this video, it really helps the channel, and subscribe for more in-depth true crime stories.